Curveballs is our middle name. That's what we do in real estate.
How much does the staging and photography really matter?
In a word, it matters. It matters a lot. Hey everyone, it's Greg and Liz with the Holmes Real Estate team, and today we wanted to do something a little different again. A lot of people see the for sale sign go up or beautiful photos on the MLS, but they never get to see what it really takes behind the scenes before a listing goes live. So there's so much that goes into it: preparing, marketing, negotiating, and managing a listing long before it ever hits the market. So today, Liz is gonna fire some questions at me. We're gonna walk you through the real process, the stuff most sellers never see. All right, Liz, let's do this.
What's something most sellers don't realize happens behind the scenes before the listing hits the market?
You know, I think most people don't realize how much preparation is needed before a home goes on the MLS. The conversations, the decluttering, the depersonalizing, all the coordination between the different contractors that come in, not just days, not just weeks, sometimes months of advanced prep is needed before these homes go on for sale.
Greg, people see the MLS photos. What kind of work has already happened before that?
When people are looking at the MLS photos, they see the final product. But when a seller first reaches out to us, oftentimes the homes are so full of years of memories. Things like they need to still declutter, sort through the memories, sort through the things that they're going to give away, they're going to throw away, or they're going to donate. Then they might have to find a storage facility. They have to then maybe do repairs around the house. That might mean major repairs like replacing carpets or new paint. Or maybe it's just the small touch-ups with loose door handles or cabinets. And then we need to prepare a home for sale, maybe adjust furniture a certain way so it creates good flow. All of these things are really important. And only when it's all done, that's when we take photos. That's what the final product comes out looking like. Because there's the way we live, and then there's the way we sell. And they're not always the same.
When you're walking into a home for the first time, what are you thinking about or looking at?
The first time I walk into a home, I'm always thinking about what it looks like from the buyer's perspective. You see, sellers, they've lived in their home. They're so comfortable, they might not see things the same way anymore as a first impression from a buyer. So I'm always looking at, is there wear and tear on the flooring? Is there rooms that are really strong paint colors that maybe need to be changed to make more subtle? Where does the light hit? How much flow is there between furniture so that groups of 2 or 3 people can walk in? Because maybe someone's got a favorite chair positioned just right to watch the TV, but that doesn't make it the best position for when a home is for sale. So all of these little details go into it, and that's what we look at when we're first walking through so we can give the seller the best chance at selling their home.
How do you decide what's worth doing and what isn't before you list a home?
Great question, Liz. Let's talk about ROI, and that's a really important thing. When you're getting a home ready for sale, often people say, what should I do to maximize my return? And, it doesn't mean you should be spending a lot of money, right? If you're in a downward market, you want to know, maybe the best thing is just to get it on the market today because the price a month from now will be lower. Maybe it is saying, well, let's do some light renovations where it's easily, quickly, visually appealing to a buyer that won't take too much time, effort, or money to help our ROI. Sometimes in a strong market, a complete renovation to really wow the buyers and get maximum ROI is great. But you have to really look at many factors, including the market trends, the time you have available, and maybe even your support network too. Who do you have who can help you with some of these tasks?
Greg, we always talk about presentation. How much does the staging and photography really matter?
In a word, it matters. It matters a lot. Staging, again, we're talking about flow and making sure that the home is appealing to the broad spectrum of buyers, right? If you have, a very strong and unique taste in furniture or decor, the buyer's eye is going to be attracted to that and not to the home itself. So having those conversations, and sometimes they're difficult conversations, but they're important so that a seller can really understand what they need to do to get the home ready for sale. And photography, again, you have one chance to make that first impression. So you want to do it right? You want to use professional photography, professional videography. You want people to see the home online, already visualize themselves living there, and want to book that appointment. So both of those things, staging and photography and videography, are of the utmost importance when it comes to marketing your home for sale.
What's the difference between a home that is camera ready and one that isn't?
In today's market, you can't just put a home on the market for sale without doing a bit of work ahead of time, right? You need your home to stand out. And that's the difference between camera ready and not being camera ready. Books, bags, clothes, all that sort of stuff that's just kind of laying about, that all needs to be tucked away. Put in boxes, put in containers, put under beds or in closets or in storage rooms so that the home feels as spacious as possible. Otherwise, it's not camera ready and it shouldn't be shot on photo day. You need to take the time and energy to make your home look its best.
Greg, how do you actually determine the right price for a home? What goes into that decision?
Yeah, that's a great question, Liz. Really, it comes down to our market evaluation. And we always talk about the market conditions, right? Where is the market right now? And what are the trends showing us? Where has the market been and where is it heading? Now, we don't have a crystal ball. We can't see into the future, but we do know, what the trends are indicating to us. So we look at that. We look at the active comparable homes. So if your home was put on the market today, what would your main competition be? What do those homes look like? What are they priced at, right? What do they have different than yours? And also we look at recent sales, right? Now, again, in a downward market, that's difficult because the last sale might be higher than what we get next month. In an upward market, it's hard to say exactly where it'll go because the last sale was probably too low compared to the next one. In a flat market, it's a little easier. But we have to look at all of these things combined and also look at subtle differences and key differences that your home has compared to others. Ocean view, waterfront, is it on a busy road or near train tracks? All of those factors go in to really helping us determine price.
What do sellers often misunderstand about pricing?
That's easy. Sellers always think their home is going to sell faster for more money than anyone else on the block. And the reality is, it doesn't always happen that way. Market conditions are key. If a home sold last year at a great price, sellers often think, well, my home is nicer than that. It should go for more than that. But they're not really factoring in the market conditions. If the market is softening or has softened in a year, that price from a year ago just might not be achievable. It's really important for sellers to really listen and understand market conditions are key when buying and selling a home.
Walk people through the week leading up to a listing. What's happening during that time?
Yeah, actually, that last week before a listing goes live, there's still a lot going on. Coordination between the whole team in the background is really kicking into high gear at that point. We've probably already had the floor plans done. The photographer and videographer are scheduled to come in. We might have cleaners coming in for that last clean before the home is on the open market. So there's a lot of coordination, all the paperwork, arranging the title, strata documents as well if it's a stratified property. There's a lot that's happening in that final week to make sure that when we go live, the home looks its best and is ready for buyers to book those showings.
How many people are involved in this process?
I mean, our team is, we've got, on our team, we've got our videographer or our photographer. We do have our floor plan person. We have our admin. We have support to help us arrange our strata documents. Yourself, myself. I mean, there's so many people involved that's coordinating. It feels like its own little engine here running, right? Easily between 5 to 10 people to make every listing go live. And without that support from the back end of our team, we couldn't function. So behind every agent, behind every good agent is a great team to help them.
Greg, what's happening behind the scenes when the showings start?
Yeah, once we get showings, one of the first things we try to do is get showing feedback from buyers, right? It's always very difficult, especially in today's day and age, to get feedback. We really do try hard to get feedback and also to make sure it's useful, right? Something that maybe the seller can utilize and improve moving forward for other showings. But that's the first stage is the showing feedback, arranging more showings. Sometimes there's a second showing or third showing. And of course, then you get into the offer and looking at offers and negotiating that whole process. So a lot starts to happen once the showings happen. It's a very exciting time for sellers.
How do you keep sellers informed without overwhelming them?
Yeah, overwhelming is a natural feeling. I think a lot of sellers feel that way when they go to sell their home. They've never done it before. It's been years or decades in some cases since they've last sold. So the key is to keep things very manageable, right? Is to keep communication strong with sellers and to make sure that we're keeping them well informed without giving them so much information. A lot of that work is behind the scenes. You and I take care of that. We get our team to help so that we can do a lot of the behind the scenes work, so sellers aren't scrambling to gather information, right? Even things like buyers might ask us, how old's the hot water tank? How old's the furnace? How old is the roof? Well, we actually try really hard to gather that information before a listing is live. So when we get peppered with those questions from buyers, we already have it, and we're not stressing a seller out by having to go down into a dusty crawl space and dig up that information off of a hot water tank or furnace.
Greg, we get a lot of showing feedback. How do you decide what is worth acting on and what isn't?
Buyers don't like to give feedback. And I think some of the reason is they don't want to divulge information that might be used against them. So a lot of times the easiest feedback for a buyer to say is, we're not interested. It's not the one. We're still looking, right? That's great. It's really not helpful to us. What it's basically telling us is that the buyer thinks the price is too high. Because if the price was right, a seller or a buyer would likely be telling us that they're interested, they're going to want to write an offer. So whenever we hear that feedback about we're still looking, it's signaling that they don't believe that the home is value priced where they want it to be in which to write an offer. So that's key.
Every sale has a moment that there's some kind of unexpected turn or something that happens. How do you handle these curveballs?
Curveballs. Curveballs is our middle name. That's what we do in real estate. We handle challenges, right? We're problem solvers. That's almost half of the job that we do. It's just part of the job. Every deal comes with its own unique challenges. In fact, we just had one recently where a seller told us that they wanted to leave behind a dirty old mattress that wouldn't be picked up for days after the possession day when our clients would be getting the keys. And we're like, well, that's not acceptable. So we had to communicate that with the other agent and manage to make sure that the expectations of a vacant and clean property were met. And that meant having a difficult conversation with another agent who said, no, we want to leave it there. And we had to point to the contract where it specifically states clean and vacant. So every deal has challenges. It's how you manage and solve those problems. I think that's what makes a great agent, right?
Yes. Negotiations are something that people don't see. What goes on behind the scenes of negotiations?
Yes, and negotiations are an integral part of what we do, right? We're certified negotiation experts. We have to make sure that we discuss our strategy. We talk to our sellers about our tone and about our level of professionalism they can expect from us. When we negotiate, it's their biggest investment that anyone ever has in their life, right? So we want to make sure that we're handling it the best way possible on our end. It's very important that we don't disclose certain key items, right? So we have discussions with our sellers about their motivation and what we're willing to disclose and what we're not willing to disclose. Sometimes it's helpful to disclose bits and pieces of information if it helps us close a deal. But of course, at the same time, we got to be really careful that we don't cross a line and divulge anything that might hurt our clients. So negotiation is an absolutely integral part of the selling and buying process, in which we take very seriously.
Greg, what do you focus on to protect the seller's interests?
I think that the number one thing is we need to make sure that we maintain a level of professionalism with the other party, right? We need to make sure that in the negotiation, we're doing everything we can for our client, but we're making sure that we're not making things difficult in the future. Because you never know when you might need a favor from the other side. You might need to change the dates. You might need an extension due to financing. You might need something that needs to be adjusted later on. And if you've had a real rough negotiation that's made it really personal with the other agent or the other party, you're going to do yourself a disservice later on when you need something. Whether it's this deal or even future deals, it's very important that that level of professionalism is held to a high standard and that we as agents don't take things personally. We're here to do a job for our clients, and that's the most important thing.
Selling can be stressful. What do you do to help our clients keep them calm and stress-free as much as possible?
You know, we're really proud of the fact that we try to take the stress on so that it takes the stress off of our clients, right? So, you know, doing a lot of research ahead of time, finding out our own information so that we don't have to always go to a seller and ask them questions. If we can kind of carry that stress for them, I think we're doing a good job. There's a lot of information that we absolutely need to share with our clients. There's information and details that they don't need to be a part of, a lot of the background stuff. I know that sellers want to know everything that goes into the sale process, but making sure that they know the key parts that they need to I think eliminates a lot of that stress. And also just sometimes it's those difficult conversations with other agents. Not everything needs to be like we can filter a lot of that so that the most important information, relevant information for our clients is getting through to them, and then just making the whole process a little smoother. Things like, for instance, moving day, right? If we get a call that someone else is behind, we want to make sure we communicate that to our clients. But if we know that the problem will be solved before our clients need to be involved, I think we don't necessarily need to share that, right? We manage what we can so that our clients have as stress-free experience as possible.
What's something you wish every homeowner knew about the selling process?
I would like every home seller to realize how intimate a relationship you actually have with your realtor when it comes to selling. You're talking to these people about your motivation, why you're selling. There are some good reasons, there are some sad reasons, right? You're opening up your heart to an agent, so you need to have that trust. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that sellers really have to understand, is that this is really a close relationship where there's a lot of honesty and discussion and trustworthiness that happens. And I think most sellers don't realize how close the interaction is when they start working with their realtor.
Once an offer is accepted, what goes behind the scenes to get the whole process going?
Yeah, obviously when a deal gets accepted, now you enter the subject removal phase, right? So out here in BC, you have your financing, your home inspection. If there's strata documents you might read, title or disclosure statements to kind of go over. Those usually take about a week or two to get through the whole process. Financing may require a bank appraisal to come. The home inspection requires a home inspector to come, usually for 3 to 4 hours. So at that time, the seller should be away. Take their dogs, take their cats, get out of the home for a few hours, make sure that the buyer can do their due diligence in a calm, quiet environment, I think you have better success at getting through that phase towards a firm deal. That's when the deposit is paid. That's when buyers are high-fiving that they bought a home, and sellers are really happy that their home can now have a sold sign up.
On closing day, what's happening that the sellers don't know about?
Well, let's talk about this. Closing day is the day the money transfers. That in BC, that's called the completion date. So really, you don't have much to do as a seller on completion day because you've already gone to sign the paperwork with the lawyer a day or two beforehand. Possession day, on the other hand, well, that's a bit busier, right? That's the day that the keys get transferred. So sellers are moving out, they're arranging the vans or movers, cleaners as well. So all that has to happen in a very short window before the keys get handed over to the buyers. And in such, keys include mailbox key, garage fobs, clickers, all that sort of stuff, visitor parking passes. All of that stuff needs to be collected and left on the counter for the new buyers. So there's a lot of little details that go on. We work with our sellers to make sure that they haven't forgotten anything. And again, we make it stress-free for them.
What do we do to make that final step stress-free and smooth for them?
Well, we're hands-on realtors, right? So we're there at the end just to make sure and give you the guidance that you need that everything is going smooth. So we're checking in advance to make sure that you've got the mover booked, that you've got the lawyer booked, that the cleaners have been scheduled. And we want to make sure that you don't discount how long it takes to pack. Here's a hot tip. Everyone always thinks the kitchen doesn't take as long as it does. But I'll tell you, once you start opening those cabinets, there's a lot to unpack. So you want to start that project earlier rather than at the last minute. All of those little tips, that's what we do. We want to make sure that we're there as your guide to make that experience, that moving day experience, as stress-free as possible. Because unfortunately, moving is just never fun. That's just a fact. So we are there to make it as smooth as we possibly can.
If someone is thinking of selling in the next 6 to 12 months, what would you say to them that they should be doing right now to get ready?
I always say the same thing, Liz. It's never too soon to reach out to your realtor. It helps because having those conversations well in advance can really help you plan what you want to do, what's the right time, and what you need to do to your home. If you need to do any major projects, you have a time. If it's minor, that's good. It maybe gives you a chance to focus on the decluttering and removal of items. So it's never too soon. 6 months, 1 year out, it's never a bad time to start the conversation and help create that plan, because without that first step, nothing happens. So I hope that information is helpful. It certainly gives a bit of a behind-the-scenes look at what life is like, especially when you're selling your home. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or
Myself.
and we'd be happy to answer your questions. I'm Greg.
And I'm Liz.
Thanks for watching.